All right, guys, so we're doing section 4.2, which is on loans today. So I gave you a colored paper. Yay! Because that means you get to use that on your test and on your final exam. No, that's a yay. That's a good thing. I'm sorry. Think of it as red as we're approaching Christmas time. Sorry. All we have are, it is. All we have are pastels in the copy room. Yeah. Yeah, for seniors to be exempt, you have to have an A both quarters, and you can only miss 4 or 5 days of school. And only miss 4 or 5 days of school. I forget if it's 4 or 5. So then, if you already have a B, then you can't be exempt from exams. It matters in GPA, though. Yeah. No, no, no. It affects your GPA. Yeah, exams affect your GPA. I don't know how you didn't know because I always talk about that, and you had me last year. All right. So guys, let's go ahead and go through the notes for today. So we are looking at monthly payments using a formula and also monthly payments using the table that's on that paper for you. But there's a lot of vocab today, guys. Noah, Stop. Gross. Stop. Yes. To do it right now, it is. Stop. All right. So the first thing, vocab, we have is a promissory note. Promissory note. It's an agreement that you sign when you take out a loan, which states the conditions of the loan. And I will tell you right now, if you've never taken out a loan, you feel like you're signing your life away because they make you sign here, initial here, date here, like it's all over the place. So be prepared, pretty much. But that's called your promissory note. That's what you're signing. It says what all the terms are for your loan, how long it is, the interest rate, all that good stuff. All right, number 2 is cosigner. This person agrees to pay back a loan if the borrower is unable to do so. People without an established credit rating often need a cosigner. So for you guys, so you probably don't have a credit score right now. So then if you would go to get a loan, you would probably need someone to cosign for you because they don't know what your, what your credit is. They don't know, are you somebody who's going to pay your loans back or aren't you? Usually, yeah. You, when you get a loan, they ask you what it's for. So, like, if you're buying a car or something, depending on the year of the car and all that, it depends on your interest rate. That would be considered an unsecured loan, which means that you're borrowing money not to necessarily purchase something that's worth something to the bank that they could take from you. Do you know what I mean? So it's considered unsecured. Yeah, you can get unsecured loans. They just have higher interest rates because you don't have collateral. Right. Sure. But yes, you can do that. All right. Number 3, life insurance. A creditor often requires a borrower to have life insurance that will cover the loan in the event the borrower dies before the loan is paid. So that's one of the things they'll ask you when you get your loan. Do you want to opt in for life insurance? And then it's like an extra monthly fee that goes with your loan payment. A lot of times you can opt out of that. I think on every loan that I've ever done, I've always opted out. Well, no, that was, I mean, if something happens to you that way, instead of having your family or somebody be stuck repaying your loan, the insurance would go ahead and kick in and cover it. That way your family doesn't have to. That's kind of what you're doing, though. Yeah. Usually the family. Yeah, it depends on how their accounts are all set up and what their will says, and it depends all of that. Yep. Yeah, there's all kinds of different ways you can try to get out under your debt, different bankruptcies. So don't do that, okay? Don't get yourself in that bad a debt. It's shocking how easy it is to get people to give you money. Seriously. People just charge them like crazy. People just get credit cards. You can get a credit card pretty easily. That's good. That's good. People are not responsible. And they're like, hey, I got a credit card. So they just go and buy stuff on a credit card if they don't have the money to pay it off. So then every month, the interest rate keeps making that bill higher and higher and higher, and they're not paying on it. If you pay it all off within a month, you don't get charged any interest. It's always a month. Now, you can not pay it all off in a month, and you can like make payments on it on your credit card. You just get charged interest on anything that any balance that's still there. Right. Hmm. Well, you said Victoria's Secret. Yeah. You can only use those credit cards at those stores, but yeah, same thing. If you pay it off within a month, you don't have any interest. But if you don't pay it off, then they're going to charge you interest every month until it is paid. So now, if she uses it at the store, then she pays it off within the month. Then a lot of times she gets like extra perks and stuff for using it. You might get extra discounts or something like that. So that's why they use it. Because she's using her credit card. But as long as she pays it off, it's no big deal. So I use mine all the time because I get cash back. She's got it. Josh? Hey guys, pay attention. Yep, because they keep charging interest. Yeah. And you get late fees if you're not paying it every month. All right, guys, number 4. Whoa, where did that go? I moved the box as opposed to clicking on it and getting it to disappear. So number 4 is prepayment privilege. So this one gets confused a lot. Prepayment privilege allows the person who made the borrower, whoever got the loan out, allows you to make payments before the due date to reduce the amount of interest. Or it allows you to pay it off early without any penalty. Okay, that's called prepayment privilege. But there's also prepayment penalty. Some loans require you to pay a fee if you pay it back before the due date. So anytime you guys get a loan, always make sure that there is no prepayment penalty. Make sure you need to ask that question every time because there's no reason that you should have a penalty for that. Okay? If they're trying to charge you a penalty for paying it off early, tell them I want a different loan or I'm going somewhere else. Okay? You can always find a loan that doesn't do that. It is dumb. It's because they want their interest is what it is. So, but most banks, you can find a loan. Like I know I had a former student who had like contacted me after he graduated and said that he went to the bank with his sister. She was getting a loan for something, and he asked, he goes, is there prepayment penalty? And they're like, yeah, there is. And he goes, well, I don't want this loan then. So then suddenly they were able to make that go away. But he's like, I'm so glad I learned and listened to you. He's like, because otherwise she would have gotten in trouble for paying it off early. So just make sure you ask about that. You're like, you know what? I got an extra cash. You know, it came into money for some reason. You're like, I'm going to pay off my loan early. They would get charged you a fee. Right. There's no reason that should happen. So make sure you ask. Okay. So just be careful. But again, there's no reason you should have a loan that has this. You should always be able to find a loan that will not charge you a fee to pay it off early. What? Wage assignment? Wage assignment is voluntary. Okay, so wage assignment is a voluntary deduction from your paycheck used to pay off debts. So if a debtor's employer and the creditor agree, loans can be paid off using this form of electronic transfer. So this is you just being like, you know what, I want to make sure before my money even hits my bank account that it automatically pays off some loans, right? You want to make sure like you don't accidentally get that money in your account and spend it on something else. So you can set it up through your job that you automatically, your part of your paycheck goes and pays off something. So So that is your choice to do that. Now on the flip side of that, number 7 is wage garnishment. There it is. Wage garnishment is involuntary form of wage assignments, often enforced by court order. The employer deducts money from the employee's paycheck to pay the creditor. An example of this, my brother, I bring him up a lot. I have 2 brothers. One does just fine. The other one is a hot mess. He really is. But he went through this because he stopped paying his student loans. Yeah, he lost a job, didn't have the money, stopped paying his student loans. So, the government stepped in, and out of each of his paychecks, they were taking money out of those to pay his student loans off. He had no choice in that. They just automatically did it. So just beware, that is possible. If you're not paying things off, they can automatically garnish your wages. All right, so thinking vocab, your next quiz I think I have scheduled for Friday. I have to double check. But like the front page is vocab. Think about this. You're going to have prepayment privilege, prepayment penalty. You see how those are easy to mix up. And then you have wage assignment, wage garnishment. Easy to mess up those two. I believe it is. Friday's a normal schedule. I'll see you guys on Thursday. You guys are not here on Wednesday. None of you will be here Wednesday. I will not have this class on Wednesday, so you're fine. But I'll have all of you on Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, so like the wage in my account at my bank, I can't go past $20. Like they can't take anything out. I can't use any of that.
If you have 20 bucks in there, once you hit your minimum balance, you mean?
Yeah, my dad has set it up so I can't spend after $20.
Gotcha.
So like, how does that work with that?
This is from your wages, so this would be from a paycheck, not from what's sitting in your bank account.
Like when you make a paycheck, they're going to take money out.
When you're
Okay, so say like
right.
that $20 was from my.
It's from your paycheck, though, hon, and regardless of your bank account. So you work at Kroger. So instead of getting a $300 check from Kroger, you might get $200 from Kroger. They're not going to give you all of your paycheck. Yeah. So your pay stub will show that it's taken out to go pay off something else. So it won't even touch your bank account.
It's like Social Security. They just take it out of your paycheck.
Right. Like Social Security, all your taxes, and all that stuff that's automatically taken out.
So
It would just automatically be taken out.
it would be at the bottom of your
Where it lists all the things that came out of your check, like Ohio taxes, all that stuff. Yes, it's right in. It'll be right in there, so you wouldn't even see that money. They just taken it away from you, just like a tax. Yep. Number 8 is a balloon payment. The last monthly payment on some loans can be much higher than the previous payments. These high payments are called balloon payments. Makes sense. It's like this one big, huge inflated payment right at the end. Some people set up loans like this, like for construction. So like I know, like when my brother built his house, he had a loan like this because they built his house. So like they took out the loan and they had all these very small payments. So the idea was by the time they were done building the house and it's actually worth a lot of money at that point, they would refinance it into an actual mortgage. So then the mortgage would go ahead and pay off that giant payment at the end. You know what I mean? They would just roll it over into a different type of loan. Some people do this when they're going to buy a house to like flip it and sell it. So they'll set it up so they're only making really small payments, and instead of like paying the $100-some thousand at the end, they expect to sell the house and they'll just pay it off. The problem is if you get to the end and you can't sell that house, then you got to make that payment. Yeah. So just beware when you set up things like this. It can be dangerous. All right. Lending institutions are organizations that extend loans, make a profit by charging interest. So the most common type of lending institution is a what? It is a bank. That is what most consumers use. I use banks. For members only? Credit union, yes. Credit unions, they are for members only. Yeah, typically they have better interest rates. Not always, but typically. Yeah. I'll cut you some slack.
Yeah, they're like, this is fine.
And it's amazing though, like if you contact a bank when like you're gonna be late with a payment, like you're gonna overdraft, something like that, if you call them and talk to them, usually they're pretty cool and like kind of lenient with some things. So if you ever get in a situation where something's going on, call and talk to somebody. Be like, hey, I'm so sorry, I did not mean to overdraft that. I will get the money in today. And they'll be like, you know what, it's okay. We'll just, if you call and talk to them, they're usually pretty reasonable. It's when you ignore them and act like it didn't happen that they're going to charge you all those fees. Okay? So always be willing to call and talk to somebody. Josh? Credit unions, you have to be a member, which typically you have to either work at a certain place to bank there or you have to live in the county that it's located in. Like I know I was part of one when I lived in Findlay, but it was only for Hancock County, like residents. So I'm a bank now. I go to Huntington. My biggest thing was like when I was with the credit union, like if I was out of town and I wanted to use an ATM, I got hit with ATM fees like crazy because my bank wasn't in that area. So now I went with Huntington because there's Huntingtons everywhere. Gotcha. So, I mean, it could be great for loans and stuff. So you just got to kind of weigh those pros and cons. All right, number 3, consumer finance companies. I don't have any experience with this in my life, but they typically give loans to people with low credit scores. They're going to have very high interest rates. So a consumer finance company. So if a regular bank won't give you a loan because your credit is so bad, this is another place you could kind of search out. Again, I have no personal history there. Number 4 is a life insurance company. They a lot of times will give loans to policyholders. Good interest rates because it's low risk to the company because you're already a policyholder with them. So you're already paying for the life insurance, so they can also give loans. Again, I've never looked into that. I mean, I have life insurance, but I've never tried to borrow money from them. And then number 5, pawn shops. They give short-term loans for collateral, typically 30, 60, or 90-day loans. Right? You guys ever watch Pawn Stars? Love that show. Most people on that show come in and just want to sell their stuff, but you can take it in for, and actually pawn it. My brother-in-law did this. He's makes some poor choices as well. He gave his van as collateral because he needed money for something, and guess what? He didn't pay it off within whatever his 30, 60, or 90 days. So what do you think happened? He lost his van. Yep, gone. So just so you guys know, like you can use a pawn shop if you can't get a bank, you need money like right now, you can pawn something as long as you pay it back with interest, of course, they will give you your item back. But if you don't, I mean, they have to agree to take whatever item you could, as long as it's worth something that they are willing to take it. It's got to be worth enough that if you don't pay it back, they're not losing money. So you got to think carefully what you have that's worth much that you're okay to get rid of, if that's the case. All right. So monthly loan payments. Guys, monthly loan payments, whether you're talking about a car loan, you're talking about a mortgage, when you buy a house, you want an unsecured loan just for cash for something else, they can calculate that monthly payment using 2 different options. So option 1 is a table, and I have this table on your pink sheet that I gave you guys. Payment information is often arranged in tables, makes it easy for a customer to see it and understand it. Now notice up here it says table of monthly payments per $1,000 of principal. So this is how much you would pay for every $1,000 that you borrow. Okay? So now if you look in here, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 10-year loans. And then it has interest rates starting at 6.5, and it goes up by 0.25% every time. And it went all the way up to, what, 13.25%. So this can be fairly simple to use. So like if I had a 2-year loan and it was 8.5%, right? You just kind of follow your columns in. So I would pay $45.46 every month for every $1,000 that I borrowed. So if I borrowed $10,000, I would multiply this by 10. So then I would pay, so I would pay $454.60 a month. Okay, so that's a nice way to use the table. So here's just kind of your step-by-step of what we just kind of talked about. So the table is for every $1,000 borrowed. So first you have to divide the amount you want to borrow by 1,000. Determine the APR and the year of the loan. You're going to kind of find those together, right? See where those columns meet? And then you multiply the number you got here by the number you found in that table. So let's kind of go through and look at some. So what is the monthly payment for a $4,000 2-year loan with an APR of 8.5%? So again, this is going back to the same numbers that were highlighted originally. But if it is a $4,000 loan, first step is to take the amount of the loan and divide it by 1,000, which is 4. And then you multiply that by the number you find in your table. So 2 years and 8.5%, that's going to come together at 45.46. And then we just multiply that, and it will tell us what our monthly payment is. Good. So 181.84. So sometimes the formula gets people really confused, and they're like, I don't understand where you're pulling all these numbers from. This makes sense to people. They're like, okay, so however many thousands of dollars I'm borrowing, you multiply it by that number. Okay, they can see where it's coming from. All right, next one. What is the total amount of the loan? So in other words, how much are you paying back over all this time? I would multiply 181.84. How many payments of this did I make? I made 24 payments because it was 2 years. So I actually ended up paying them back $4,364.16. So then the question of what's the finance charge, or how much interest did you pay, I just subtract the original amount. So subtract off the original 1,000. That was weird. Come back here. Good. $364.16. That is your finance charge, or that's your interest, that's your fee, whatever you want to think. Remember, those words are all used interchangeably. So have we already done stuff like this, though, where we figured out the interest paid? Yeah, that part should be similar. All right. So refer to the monthly payments, refer to the table to find the monthly payments necessary to complete parts A through E. So just getting some practice, okay? So what is the monthly payment for a $2,400 4-year loan with an APR of 8.25%? So the first thing we need to do is take the 2,400 and do what with it? Divide it by 1,000, which is 2.4. And then we multiply that by the number we find in the table. So that was a 4-year loan of 8.25%. So 4 years at 8.25%. So you look at 4, 8.25, so it's 24.53. Bless you. That's 2.4, because I did 2,400 divided by 1,000. Yeah, your first step is take whatever amount you're borrowing and divide it by 1,000. So 2.4 times the number we found in the table. So their monthly payment, $58.87. So that's not a bad payment. But you got to find a bank that's willing to give you a 4-year loan for that. All right, questions on that one? We okay on the process here? All right, Sally borrows $75,000 for 5 years at an APR of 6.5%. What is her monthly payment? So we start with taking 75,000 and doing what with it? Dividing by 1,000, which is 75. 75. So then we have to multiply that by the number we find in the table. So it's 5 years. So we go to the 5 years, and then 6.5%. So 1957. So So their monthly payment, $1,467.75. Which is really not terrible considering they borrowed $75,000. That's a lot of money. Maybe remodeling their house. Maybe. All right. What is the total amount of the monthly payments for a $38,000 4-year loan with an APR of 7%? Round to the nearest dollar. So it wants to know the total amount of the monthly payments. Well, what do I have to find first? I got to find the monthly payments. Yeah. So I'm borrowing $38,000. So I'm going to divide that by 1,000, good, which is just 38. We're going to multiply that by the number in the table. So we're looking at 4 years, 7%. So 4 years, 7%, $23.95. What's 0.1 stand for? There you go. 10 cents. So this right here is their monthly payment. Right, so their monthly payment's $9, $10, $10. Okay? Question asked, though, what is the total amount of their monthly payments? Times it by what? Times 12 times 4, or times 48. Because it's 4 years, which is 48 months. So we're going to take the 9, 10, 10, multiply that by 48 to get the total amount of payments that they had. So $43,684.80, which would round then 43,685. So if I asked you, I didn't, but if I asked you, how much interest did they pay? Good. You would just subtract the 38,000 they borrowed. How are we doing so far? Good. All right. The monthly. The total of monthly payments for a 3-year loan is $9,834.30. The APR is 8%. How much was originally borrowed? The total of monthly payments for a 3-year loan. Let's kind of stop and let's work this backwards. So we just did one that we found the total of monthly payments, right? How did we find that? Okay, so let's work it backwards. Like we have my work in here. Let's kind of work it backwards then. So if I know the total was $9,834.30, how did I get that? I got my total before by multiplying by how many months it was. So I should do what with this one? Divide it by how many months? It'd be 36 months. Because it was 3 years. That's 36 months. So 9,834.30. So 273 be 18. What did I just find? That is the monthly payment. It wants the original amount borrowed. So I've still got to kind of think this backwards. So on this one, I got back to where the monthly payment was. How did I get that monthly payment? By the number from that table, right? Do I know the number from the table? It was 8% and 3 years. So if I go to my table, 3 years, 8%, there it is, 31.34. Yep. So you would divide it by 31. What did I say it was? Thank you. So So take that number and divide it by 31. Did you say 34? Keep losing my mind here. Oh, you rounded. Okay, gotcha. So that's 8.72, if you round that. Yes. And then before you divided by 1,000, so you will multiply by 1,000. Good. So if you get a problem like that, look back at a problem that you just did and see the step by step and then just kind of work your way backwards. That's the easiest way to kind of reason through that one. That's definitely one of the harder ones. Okay, working backwards is always harder. Huh? Eh. What is the finance charge for $8,000 3-year loan at a 7.25% APR? So when it wants the finance charge, what's that really ask? What's another word for finance charge? Interest. So in other words, how much more am I paying than what I actually borrowed? That's what it's asking. So what's the first thing I should find? My monthly payment. So if I know what my monthly payment is, I can calculate how much I actually paid. Then I can see how much more that is than I actually, borrowed. So $8,000. So I'm going to do 8,000. I'm going to divide by 1,000, which is 8. And then you have to multiply 3 years, 7.25%. Good, 30.99. From the table. I just didn't scroll back up. So 8 times 30.99. Okay, this is your monthly payment. Ooh. I did not abbreviate payment very well. There it is. So that's my monthly payment. How many months did I make that payment? I made 36 of those because it was 3 years. So 8,000, bless you, $925.12. This is your total payments. Good, and then I just subtract off how much I borrowed. Because I paid back over $8,900. I only borrowed 8. Good, $925.12. This is your interest or your finance charge. Nope, call it whatever you want. Those words are used interchangeably. Yeah. I mean 7.25% is kind of a high interest rate. Questions so far on using the table? All right, let's take a break. All right, guys. What is a downside to your table? What if I have an 11-year loan? What if I have a 7.135%? Can I use the table? No, I can't. The table is great and it's fast, but it's limited, right, to only certain number of years and certain percentages. So you need to know the monthly payment formula. You won't have to write it because, yes, right, it's on there. If you want to write it, you can, but it is all there in the next part. Okay, so your monthly payment formula, there it is. It's beautiful, all its glory. M is standing for the monthly payment. Principal is still P. The interest rate is still R. T is still the number of years. So all of those variables are all the same. Yep, it's basic. It's just a matter of plugging stuff in the right spot. Okay, that's what it all comes down to. That's the same formula. So yeah, guys, on your pink sheet, it says calculating monthly payments, and it's got 2 different things. You have 2 options. You can use the table, or you can use the monthly payment formula. Now, here's the kicker, and I need you guys to make note of this. If you are able to use the table, you must use the table. Everybody got that? If you can use the table, you have to use the table. Because that's the way it works. It's faster, it's easier.
Yeah, but I mean, if you just do one way at a time, don't worry about the
Thanks, Haley. Guys, I'm telling you now, when I grade things, if you can use the table, that's what I'm looking at. I want you to use the table. Because the two of them, while they're close, they're going to be probably a couple dollars apart from each other. Because there's a lot of rounding that happens. Okay? So if you can use the table, you need to use the table. So Mark bought a new car. The total amount he needs to borrow is $28,716. He plans on taking out a 4-year loan, APR of 5.12%. What is his monthly payment? Why can I not use the table? Because it's 5.12%. It's not in the table. So we are going to use the formula. So just like last chapter, I want you to write down the formulas for me. So 28,716. When you're using the formula, you do not have to divide it by 1,000. That's only for when you're using the table. Here, my principal amount is what I'm borrowing. I'm just going to plug everything in. So 0.0512 over 12. And then 1 plus 0.0512 over 12. To the 12 times how many years? Let's say 4 year. All over 1 plus 0.0512 over 12 to the 12 times 4 minus 1. If you are a scientific calculator person, you will need parentheses at the top and the bottom. If you're using a graphing one, start with your fraction. Guys, grab your calculators, make sure you know how to type all this stuff in. Start with your fraction, and then you can type it in. I told you it's a doozy. Okay. I mean, I could make you do it by hand.
Please, you can do it by hand? Back in my days, we had to do it.
Nobody's
Back
very
in my day.
I won success. No, I went actually right from here in success to you showing success.
No. I mean, you can do that by hand. It's just going to be a lot of work. All right. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a doozy. All right, so your monthly payment, you should get $662.87.
Well, if calculators just don't exist that we're gonna have to know how to. I think we gotta take a day to learn all of it.
Perfect.
I think we need to take a day. Calculators aren't gonna stop existing until next year, so.
And even if they do, I'll just stop doing that.
But like, are you gonna stop getting loans?
All right,
Yeah, I don't.
guys, stop. All right, guys, come on, last part. Sam has a $16,400 4.5-year loan with an APR of 6.73%. So part A, what is the monthly payment for the loan? Table or formula? Formula, because my APR is not something that's in the table. So let's start with that. So we get a monthly payment. Guys, I'm doing this. You should be doing this. This is not just to see if I know how to. Yeah. Do I ever what? To be a math teacher, I learned math that is well above and beyond any math I will ever teach. could I show you something? I don't know. Have I ever taught something I didn't know? Is that what you're asking? No. Well, no, I know how to do all the high school math. I mean,
She's smarter than the fifth grader.
as long as it's all math, yeah.
That's ridiculous. And most fifth graders are like, I beat in poker and I beat him.
Hey guys, do we have an answer to this yet? Guys, type this in. Make sure you're able to type it in. You should get a monthly payment of $352.85. Anybody not able to get that? If he changes the loan to a 3-year loan, what's the monthly payment? Now, guys, stop and think. You just typed that whole thing in, right? Is it that hard to just change a number out of that? No, it's not.
When you type it in, you can type it.
Guys, if you arrow back up to your and highlight it, hit enter, it brings it up where you can change it. So just arrow back through. Where it says 4.5, I'm going to change that to a 3. And then you hit the DEL button, delete. So you can delete the parts you don't actually want. Yes, there's delete. Don't. Yeah, you just arrow up, highlight, hit enter. It brings it back up for you so you can go back in and change things. Remember, I'm all about working smarter, not harder, right? I'm a lazy mathematician. So if you go back, all you had to change was the 4.5. Just 3.0 is fine. Yeah, if you're not comfortable with the delete button. 3.0, delete is right up here.
Oh, there it is.
Delete. But you should change it to a monthly payment of $504.36. Okay, all right. So changing it from 4.5 to 3 years, does it make sense the payment's higher? You're going to pay it off sooner. Okay. What is the difference in the monthly payments? Just subtract them. Right, so we're just going to do 504.36 minus 352.85, 151.51. Right, part D, which loan has the higher finance charge? What is the difference in the finance charge for the two loans? So we need to first figure out what the finance charges are. What's a finance charge mean? The interest. How much more did you pay than the actual loan? All right, well, the first one had a monthly payment of $352.85. How many months did you make that payment? So 4.5 times 12, it's 54. All right, so the first loan was $352.85. I made that payment for 54 months. So just go figure out what that one is. So I made payments of $19,053.90. How much was the loan? 16,400. Yep, so I'm just going to subtract the 16,400. There will be. So $2,653.90. So this is the finance charge or the interest on the first one. Because it asks which one has the higher finance charge. Well, that's what it is on the first one. So it took me 4.5 years. Now, before we even find it, what do you think? Am I going to pay more interest in 3 years or 4.5 years? Probably 4.5, right? Let's figure out the other one. The other one had a loan payment of $504.36. That was for 3 years, so I'd multiply that by 36. Good. So 504.36 times 36. 18,156.96. And then subtract off the loan of 16,400. So 1,756.96. That's the finance charge there. So which loan has the higher finance charge? The first one, right? The 4.5-year loan. So the 4.5-year has a higher finance charge. What's the difference in the finance charge? I just got to subtract. So the difference was $896.94. So if you could afford the higher payments per month, you would save yourself almost $900 in interest if you can pay it off that much faster. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. So last part, do you feel that it's worth paying the higher monthly payment to have the loan finished 6 months early? Yeah. If you could afford it, is it worth it? Yes. So yes, if you can afford the payments. So guys, that's one of those things I'm going to tell you right now. When you go to get a loan, the thing that the bank will try to do is like, yeah, we'll give you a loan for whatever, the vehicle you want to buy. And like, we're going to give you a 6.5-year loan. And like, look how low your payments are going to be. And you're going to be like, sweet, I can do that. If you can afford more per month, ask them for a shorter loan. So if you can make the shorter the loan length you can get, the less you're going to pay in interest over time.
Don't be like, I need.
Right, don't be like, you know what, I can afford it, but then I don't know if I really can. Make sure you can afford it so you don't get in a situation where you can't make your payment. But the shorter the length you can get, the better. You're going to pay a lot less interest that way. Okay?